Hey, coaches, we got a fantastic guest for you tonight, and I'm gonna do this the Hooked on Phonics way. Steve Kachefski.
You got it.
I nailed it. All right, and Coach Steve is how most of you know him from Twitter and podcast world and YouTube world. And I want to start out. I'm super excited because he's going to talk about Inside Zone with us tonight. And we're putting Inside Zone back in for the first time in about 10 years. So I'm excited to get to get coached up a little bit. But I wanted Steve to talk about his podcast. He does a great job with his podcast, and it's also on YouTube. And except for today's program, I've seen some fantastic guys you've had on there and really interesting content you're putting out. So tell us about it a little bit before we talk Inside Zone.
Well, thanks for having me. Coach was one of the great guests he was talking about. So the podcast is Sideline Podcast with Coach Steve. I'm not very smart, so that's the name I came up with. The YouTube the YouTube is the Sidelines. Coach Nick Banster gave me the idea. He's like, make the name different for the YouTube, and I said, okay. I started it back in February because my dream was to talk about sports, like an ESPN thing. Then COVID happened, so there was no sports to be talked about. Then Coach Sheffer, who does his armchair coaching podcast, he started that. I joined it. And then I said, I'm going to start getting coaches on. So I just started asking coaches, and by the seat of my pants, just came up with questions and just kind of went with it. And it's amazing how many people say yes to something like this. And it's a great platform because I never thought I would do something like this. Like, I'm not the most social person. So if I was 18 years old and you told me I'd be doing this, I would have smacked you and be like, you don't know what you're talking about. And some of the coaches I've had on are like, oh my gosh, this is my first time. I never thought I would be on a podcast or talk. So it gives coaches a way to talk, just talk and just be like, oh, I never thought I could do this. And so you build relationships. And, I just had a coach on saying this was his second one. And he goes, I never thought I could do something like this or be on one. And I was like, I'll talk to anybody. So it makes me feel good that coaches have a platform and they don't have to run. I do all the work, but they can just come on and talk. So yeah, it's on Spotify and all that and everywhere you can listen to. And the YouTube, I put them up on YouTube as well, just in case, and just kind of rolling with it. It's nothing huge, but I like it. So I keep doing it.
Well, I was joking with you. I said today was your only bad guess because I was on it today, but I've seen some of your. I poked around, looked at some of the older episodes, and I mean you've got some great guys on there, and it's a really powerful. Like you said, a powerful way to get coaches to get on there and kind of share their ideas and their thoughts, and you do a great job with it, man. So we're going to talk about it again at the end. But just wanted to make sure, if you haven't, you guys out there watching, if you haven't found them on YouTube or found them on the podcast platforms, look them up because there's some great coaches on there and he does a great job. So now tell us about Inside Zone, man. You're do this real quick. Give it where you at. Just tell us a little bit of your coaching background and then coach us up on this Inside Zone.
So right now I coach at Addison Trail High School. It's a western suburb of Chicago. I think there's about 1,700, 1,800 kids in the building. I got hired back in the summer because we didn't know who knew how long COVID was going to happen. He offered me the offensive line and run game coordinator spot. The year before that, I was at East Aurora High School. It has 4,000 kids. It's in suburbs of Chicago. The year before that, Lombard East, suburb of Chicago. And I spent most of my time at Charleston High School, right down the street from Eastern Illinois University. I was offensive coordinator, JV defensive coordinator, assistant defensive coordinator. I coached everything besides safeties. That's the only thing. And then I went to Oakwood High School, which is right by Champaign-Urbana in Illinois. So this would be, oh goodness, year 12. I've been coaching since 18, 19. I'll be 30 this week. So it's been, almost 12 years. So I've bounced around, and to some people it doesn't look good, but you just take different opportunities, and whatever life hits you, you got to go with it. And, but yeah, I've always been offense. I've always done offensive line mainly. So that's why they offered me this O-line run game coordinator, which to make me happy, I guess, like we're going to give you this title. but you asked me to do this, and I was thinking, okay, what team was I on that had the run play that was the most success? And in 2018, I was on Lombard East team. It's in Lombard, Illinois. We went 10-1 that year. It's the first time they made the playoffs since 1999. They hadn't won a playoff game since. They won the conference for the first time since 1968, maybe. Um, Never had two home playoff games and this and that. And so I got there. He said inside zone and trap were his bread and butter. So inside zone was like the thing. And I had only dabbled in it right before then. And he had some variations off of it that were very simple. And so I was like, okay, let's talk about inside zone. And then at East Aurora, inside zone was the bread and butter. So I came into that again. And then run game coordinator, they kind of don't want to do it because the thought is inside zone is hard. If you don't have the athletes, it doesn't work. But the way we did it at Lombard East and at East Aurora, you can do it without the athletic lineman. So I'm trying to convince them to put it in, and I think I'm getting my way a little bit. So yeah, that's why I picked inside zone. So hopefully
you got my attention when you said you can do it with lesser linemen and do it simple. Happy birthday!
Oh, thanks.
And look, I don't know where most of the people that watch this, but I'm a Southern boy. You know, I'm Florida, Georgia, North Carolina. Is it a thing up north where you just got to be able to run the ball? You know, when playoff time comes, I'm sure, you know, obviously your winters are a little tougher than our winters. Is that still a thing up there where you got to be able to pound the rock? You know, is that people's mindset up there?
Yes and no. In Central Illinois and Southern Illinois, you see a lot more run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. Then when you get closer to Chicago, since there's way more athletes, more kids, you're seeing a lot more passing the ball, but they will run the ball. So it just kind of depends on where you're at. Where I've been, we ran the ball. Now we're spread, but we're going to run the ball, like you said, especially up in Chicago where you got the wind. Like you never know. So even going now, that's our mindset is run the ball, run the ball. Um, they practice it. So it's like at the beginning of the year, it's passing. And then as it goes on, it's like, oh, they're running it more because it's cold. So it's still like that. And I've coached under the pro style, triple option, spread. I've seen it all, done it all. Doesn't mean I know anything. I was there. Doesn't mean I know it, but I've seen it all. And Illinois is all over the place. Like I'm going off a tangent, but Coach Derek Leonard at Rochester by Springfield, Illinois, they're a spread Oklahoma type. He was doing Oklahoma's offense before Lincoln Riley did it, and they've won 8 of the last 10 state championships. So like they GT counters their thing, so they run the ball, but they will pass it like nobody's business. So it's just all over the place in Illinois.
Well, that was just, you know, I just being down here, I just wasn't sure. You know, you hear TV commentators talking about that in the NFL, and I just didn't know if that was a real thing. All right, man. Well, coach us up. Tell us how to run this dang thing.
Well, let's see. Can I share my screen? Perfect. So yeah, I'm Coach Steve, offensive line coach, run game coordinator at Central High School. Let's see. Yeah, 12 years. Here's my description. I already said I went to Oakwood High School. I coached offense and defensive line there. Charleston High School, I did everything besides cornerbacks and safeties. I've been JV coordinator, assistant varsity. I was the OC for a little bit. Then I was at Lombard East High School, which is kind of where the inside zone kind of came in. Then I was at East Aurora. Now I'm at Addison Trail. And then real quick on Twitter, it's at Coach Steve 72. Then we already said, and we'll say it again, the Sideline podcast with Coach Steve and Sidelines with Coach Steve. So when I got to Lombard East, we were talking about inside zone, and he said you have to marry inside zone. And what he meant by that was it's not like it depends how you install, but every day you have to practice it. Like maybe once in a while you get away with not going over one run play or not. But you know, we were inside zone, trap, and a little bit of power, but inside zone was practiced every single day because it depends how you run it. So you can't flirt with it. You can't just date it. It has to be married. And it doesn't mean you can't have other run plays. Like for us, we did a lot of double teams at the point of attack. So when we ran power, we were thinking, okay, we're stealing double team drills to go with power, if that makes sense. And so you can have zone. Some people say you just have to be zone or just have to be gap, which we weren't. We were zone and gap, and it worked. East Aurora was the same thing. This year we're going to be the same thing. Like I said, you can still double team reps. And then people always ask, like, if you want to do RPOs, I think inside zone is perfect with RPOs. You don't have to practice anything else. You could just tell the lineman. I know for us, um, if we were no huddle, it might be a state is inside zone right. So if they say a state like Illinois, if they say Illinois Ram is the play, the linemen just know Illinois is inside zone right. We don't care what Ram is. We could care less what that is. We know what we're doing. So it's perfect for that kind of stuff. Just in case, I just drew up your traditional inside zone. When people hear inside zone, they think, okay, if we're going to the right, everybody steps to the right, and we have to go up the field. We have to push them one on one. And this is kind of where I think people say if you have athletic linemen and these good linemen, you could do this way. I know this is maybe the more simpler way because it's, hey, let's just step to the right and whoever's there we hit and it's easy. But you have to have the lineman to do it and one on one, which people are, from my experience, worried about doing because, again, do you not have the lineman to do it? And so when I got to Glenbard East, he said, we will not do it this way because we would rather push the lineman 3 or 4 yards back and worry about the linebackers later. And so the next one, I talked to Coach Banster out there about this, if this was inside zone or duo or ISO, because this is how we would look at it. So if we were doing inside zone right, like if they lined up this way, our right tackle, he's the only one that might be one on one, but most likely a defensive end that's on his outside shoulder is going to stay to the outside. So he has it a bit easy. Now, our right guard, normally you could tell him to go to the right and go upfield. Well, if you're looking, if there's nobody head up and nobody to his outside, but there's somebody on his inside, maybe we need to go double team. This is where the reps come in. And so our center is going to go to the right, but our guard's going to kind of step forward and do a little like gallop or a flipper to kind of blast him. And then we can go off to the backer. The left guard, kind of the same thing. Does he have someone head up? Does he have someone to his right or to his left? Right now, he's got a guy head up, so he's going to have to go get him because nobody else is to his right. Then our left tackles, we're going to leave the end alone because that's who we're reading for our quarterback to run it. And then he's going to go block that guy head up the guard, and we're going to go find a backer after that. Now, we always told him if you push those guys 4 yards back and we get 4 yards, we're fine with it. We don't care if, the old school in me is 4 yards, you're good. Like that, that's all we need. And so I showed Coach Bancher this, and he goes, this is duo or this is whatever, kind of like duo. And I said, it kind of is, but we were mainly double teaming. We weren't stepping to the right and just going up the field. And then, like on this play, we always told the guys if the running back is on your side for the wide receivers, you're running a bubble. If you're away from the running back, you're blocking. So you see the Y and the Z was blocking. Our H was running the bubble because the running back was to his side. So it was just easy for them to remember. They could just look. So this is kind of where the RPO thing comes in. It was automatic. So if the quarterback saw he could throw the bubble, he could. Or if the quarterback kept it, we told our H to keep running because he could still throw it out there as long as he's behind the line of scrimmage. It's almost like an option, basically. So we were able to variate the inside zone off of it. And then I just put this because this was something we kind of came up with. We could triple team almost like a wedge, but we just called it our inside zone, which was Reno. We just said, this is what we're going to do. We were in the playoffs. We saw a team run this 3-5, and they would walk this middle linebacker. He would stand literally right behind this nose and try to go one way or the other. So it was putting them in a bad situation. So we just said, well, for this game plan, we're going to call inside zone. Our right tackle's on his own. If they stay like this, we can triple team that nose and go find a guy. Like, I know some people might just call that wedge, but if we saw a team like this, we could just triple team and go. Real quick did that team stop bringing that backer right here and go to one way or the other because we could just blast them off the line. Again, you see our RPO thing. It was automatic. This is just how simple, stupid we were with it. And like I said, then you can RPO it, you can play action or ISO it. So if we said it inside zone right, lock, our left tackle would lock. So he would go get the end. And this is kind of where your play action would come in. Like, okay, this could be your play action. This could be your RPO. So if you block that in, the quarterback for this RPO is reading this jack backer or whatever you want to call him. He's reading for that spot route. Since it's a 3 down front, we can triple team still, and the quarterback's got to make a quick read. We took this from people might recognize it, the air raid stuff. Like you got their double slants in this corner. Pre-snap, he could throw the slant, this and that. So these were like our bread and butter. Like we were simple with our offense. We ran the same thing over and over until they stopped it. Just another variations with this inside zone. And then here's your ISO off of it. So if you said inside zone, right lock, and you had this formation with this H back, left tackle could take this end. It's locking it. I should have drawn a 4 down man, but still triple team with this H with the ISO. He can insert, and now you've got even another blocker coming in. Since these guys are away from the tailback, they block. And then this was just an adjustment. We just told this guy to run a spot route to see what he did later on, so if we could add an RPO to it. But these were just our plays and variations off of it. So inside out of inside zone right there, you can have a wedge, you can have an ISO type thing going on. Like at the school I'm at now, we just put an ISO. We haven't even put in zone yet. It's ISO, and we block it like this. So it's gonna be easier to transition to an inside zone. And then this is kind of where you see Ohio State do this a lot. I think they stole it from us. I will go and say they stole it from us. This is where the coaches at Lombardi said, okay, we have inside zone, we have trap, we have power. How do we get to the outside? And this is basically power read without the polar, and this is where it was a variation. So we're like, how do we get to the outside? So in our we only ran 2x2 and 3x1, and that was it. We did nothing else. And that's how simple it was. Our H back is still running the bubble because he had the tailbacks to his side. So we called this, I think it was Laredo. So it was 8 Laredo. So when the lineman heard that, the right tackle is going to try to get outside and go block the first guy he sees. You'll see Ohio State kind of get out here and then go right back to that Mike backer. We just told him to get to the outside. Whoever showed up, just get in his way. Everybody else is blocking inside zone to the left. So you're seeing this double team to this will backer. They're taking their guys. They're running their bubble. Quarterback's reading the end like he always does. If he flies out with that right tackle, he keeps it and runs behind the inside zone. If this guy wants to sit there or dive in, he hands it off to the tailback, and he's got 3 blockers. So it's kind of like a numbers game. So right now, we have a way to run the ball inside, run your normal inside zone, ISO, and now we can even get to the outside if need be. And so one of the things that was talked about was, okay, this is cool, but what if this backer blitzes or whatever, because we're not blocking him? He's the guy that's going to cause a problem. So now we have to do eye candy. So if he's causing a problem, then we can motion a guy. So now we call this 18. So the tailback flips over. Everything is still the same. Right tackle is releasing out. The Y now, this is the only difference. We always said he has to run the bubble, but if you hear Laredo, he has to go block. Our H is going to motion, and now he becomes the guy that might get the ball. So the tailback goes out and blocks. The tackle's blocking, Y's blocking, Z's blocking. Quarterback has the same exact read. We're hoping with this motion, these backers, their eyes are looking in the backfield. Maybe they shift over, so this Mike might go out. So he can hand it off to the H-back and have 4 blockers out there. Or he's going to keep it run behind this inside zone, and we hope to get this Mike out there. And we just told this X to run a slant, pre-snap. If he's motioning, he can snap. If he already knows maybe he can get that slant, he can take it. If not, and the X sees that, he can go block a slant. He can just go block the first threat. So now we've eye candied it. Now we can still get to the outside. And then you can do it at any formation. I like to draw things up out of every formation just so I can see it. So if you're in a trips right for us, again, he's running a bubble that we can throw. This would be 9 Laredo. It's the same thing. Left tackle's going out. We're blocking inside zone to the right with everybody else. Quarterback can keep it or hand it off. We try to overload one side and come back to the other. And again, if we want to motion it the way we had it set up, same exact thing. The H can motion out now. This guy can run his slant to go block somebody. Now we got the left tackle, the tailback. This X can go block somebody or occupy. We can hand it off to the H-back, or the quarterback can keep behind that inside zone. And these guys are blocking for extra blockers just in case. These were just variations we did. Then, of course, you can add RPOs out of it. It's the same thing. You can keep this the same. He can read this instead if you add this to it. So he's going to read this to throw it. You can lock this right tackle instead. I drew it up wrong because I was trying to make this presentation fast and I didn't pay attention. That's me being dumb. but you could lock that left tackle, do this stuff, have this RPO going on. And since it was the same thing for all the other plays, we didn't have to add anything.
Let me ask you this one on this left tackle on your normal, not on this RPO, but normal when you're reading that DN. Does he just take off right now? Like he doesn't care if he crosses that guy's face?
For that end, yeah. So we told him you're not trying to block him. So you're trying to go now. Now, if he follows you and he's hooking on you, you're taking him out of the play anyway. So we're fine with it. That's kind of what we hope to do so the quarterback can keep it. But
That
we
would
teach
trigger, if he ran with them, that would trigger the quarterback run.
right. And we told him that makes the quarterback's job easier when he goes with you. Because what our defensive linemen taught, they're taught to sometimes follow because what do they think? That might be a screen, that might be, or whatever. So they might follow him. So we said, that's taking him out of the play. We don't care anymore. You're good. So you're trying not to block him now. If you're running for 4 yards, 5 yards, and he's on you, just start blocking him. But at first, if he's on you, you're trying to get off of him. You're trying to go find somebody else.
All right, my other question was where's the aiming point for the ball carrier on inside zone?
We always said 0 or 1. So we're aiming for the center. So they'll run to the center, and then they can bang it back.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yep.
I know some people might say 2 and 3 or whatever. We always said 0 and 1. Because a lot of people don't think about this inside zone. You get a lot of your yards from cutbacks, and that's why we want double teams to get to that backer. So if we get that wall first, and then we can cut it back if we need to. And hopefully by the time we cut back, they're coming off to that backer instead. And it takes a while. Like you might get 3 or 4 yards every time you run. Then eventually one of these times it just pops off.
Yeah. I like it a lot.
And I kind of went overboard maybe a little bit. We once in a while we would add it an H back. And now you can even get more blockers out there. You run the same thing, but this H-back can arc and be another blocker. Need be, maybe you're running ISO a lot, and they're thinking he's going to go to the inside. Now he's going to go to the outside. Teaching the exact same thing. You're not adding anything. And then we just call this H-pop. So you could say like 8 Laredo H-pop. So now we keep doing this for a while. He's arc releasing. If this free safety is dropping down, these safeties are dropping down, he's looking and he takes off. This works a lot with power read, but we added this to it to make it more versatile. And then another thing we decided was, well, what if we want to hand down tight end, add an extra gap to help out with the zone? Like we just started, we were 7-0. So when you start winning a lot, you're like, oh, let's start adding more. Let's see let's play around, And so we bring a hand down tight end and they just add an extra gap. So now you got to switch responsibility. So the tight end goes out now. Now you've got 5 linemen blocking inside zone back. So now if the quarterback kept it, he has even more blockers now. We still have the bubble and and then if you really wanted to, you could have this be a Y pop. So he arc releases and then takes off. So again, we might be adding things, but we're keeping it simple. The tight end again, you can motion a guy. Now he's got the tight end, he's got the tailback, the Z blocking. If the quarterback keeps, he's got even more blockers, or we have the slant right behind it. Because that was the next thing was we were always spread out. We're always spread out. And once we start getting to a playoff, do we have a tight end? Do we bring that in? And we don't change nothing. It just adds another guy to it. So yeah, that was a short presentation. That's just our variations of inside zone, and we ran them over and over and over. And trap. We were another trap team. Very big on trap.
I love it, man. That's exactly how I'd want to run it, with the double teams first and worry about linebackers later. So
Yep, that's it.
That was exactly what I needed to see.
Yeah, this might be the worst one you had, but we were so simple and not trying to brag. It was the kids, but going 10-1, being so simple with this, but you had to rep it over and over. And, every day they knew, okay, we're going to do inside zone. Okay, we got to do this. But you know what? They knew it like the back of their hand. And as coaches, we could play around with it like we did. And since we had the double teams, we knew that we didn't have these athletic linemen. We're going to double team. We were going to worry about that. And then the more you did it, the more they realized how they could get off to that backer. Or, oh my goodness, we double teamed. We're already at the backer if we get good at it. And then you can, I just love inside zone because then you can get into the pin and pull stuff, but we were not dabbling in that. We would rather just run to the outside, arc release somebody, do this and do that, eye candy it, and just the lineman didn't have to learn anything new. So
It's funny. That's what we've decided too, is that we've got a real good size O line this year. Not real athletic, but good size. And we decided we're not even going to mess around with outside zone. We're just going to find different ways to read it to get it outside, and we're gonna pound it between the tackles. So this was actually exactly what I needed to see. You were the perfect guest tonight.
yeah,
And,
well, being online, love double teaming, so it was just
yeah,
perfect. And people can tell me it's duo or this and that, but you know what? It works. Call it what you want. We say inside zone because we're not blocking the end, and I would rather get 4 yards a pop than say everyone step to the right, our lineman turn around and look into the backfield because they got beat by a defensive lineman, and me in their ear, my foot up their butt, and what were you doing?
and it
And
brings a level of toughness and physicalness to the run too, where sometimes you hear inside run and you think it might be a little soft, but this version is not soft. It's going to be a snot knocker in there.
yeah, and then people kind of, I don't want to ramble too much, but people get weary about the double team because instead of going to the right or the left, it may have, so if it's inside zone right, they may have to step to the left, which is away from what you're saying. So that's why it has to be repped. And it has to be repped against different fronts. So you have to take time to write it on the board and then walk through it real quick before a pre-practice, and then you're out there. Now, obviously, you have film on the team, but you can tell the offensive line there's only so many spots they're going to line up. It's head up here or here, like you know, on, away, or inside. That's how you could tell them. Like, is somebody on you or is somebody away from you? Nope, you got to hit that guy, and it gets repped, and you can do half line to where they can see it better and get the boards out for the right angles. And if you got a good center or the center blasts him, you just have to step forward instead of taking a step to the left or whatever. So that's why people get weary of it. But don't worry, you're stealing reps. You're double teaming on power and stuff anyway. It's down blocking and double teaming. So you're stealing reps if you want to add power as well.
No, that's our favorite block. So I'm on your back all the way. I think that's going to be perfect. Tell us about your podcast one more time, man. I want to get everyone watching and listening.
So the podcast is the Sideline Podcast with Coach Steve. It's made with Anchor, so it's on Anchor, Spotify, Apple, Google.
Everywhere. If you're on Anchor, you're everywhere, aren't you?
Yeah, it's everywhere. I think I even uploaded it to Stitcher on my own, so it's even out there now. The YouTube is the Sidelines with Coach Steve. I know that's confusing, but it was just a way since they might be different one of these days. Might get coaches on to do what you're doing, so it had to be called something different. Um, I think I'm up to almost 60 episodes on the podcast. It's a lot of me, then it's some coaches, and it's back to me. Have some coaches on there talking ball. Me and my friend started a college football recap show every Sunday morning. Um, I do a Chicago Bears sadness stuff because they are struggling right now, and
I thought
it's
they were
just
doing good this year.
they were 5-1, and now they're 5-4,
Oh,
and
no.
and so it's a lot of that stuff, and so it's just a little hodgepodge, but it's all sports and all that. So
Well, I
I'm very
watched the ones where you had coaches on, and I thought they were excellent, man. I think you're doing a great job with it.
no, I appreciate it. I try to mix it up, get some coaches on, then do talking to others football, and then get coaches back on. So it just kind of gets a little bit of everything. And
And you're one of the ones that goes with Schaefer too, aren't you? That does the program stuff.
yeah, so I'm going to take credit for Coach Sheffer's podcast because he tweeted out during quarantine. He's like, I think about doing a podcast. Does anybody have any advice? And I sent him a message. I said, hey, do Anchor because it's free and you can use your phone or whatever. And I think like a week later, he was like, hey, I might do college football programs. And I said, I would do it. And I wasn't on his first episode was just normal podcast. And then it started doing that. And I was on a lot of them. I've been on a lot of them. He's big time now, though. He makes no time for us on those program profiles. He's big time now. We give him some crap for that, but he's busy. But yeah, he check that. I'm on that too.
Good deal. Well, that's fun to listen to also. So there's lots of ways to hear you, and you did a great job tonight, man. I promise you, that's exactly what I needed to see and hear was that version of the inside zone. So you helped me a lot, and I know you helped some other guys. You know, air raid guys love to tinker around with inside zone. So you're getting our minds right. So I appreciate it, man. Great job.
Thank you for having me on. Everyone go check out his stuff too.
Awesome, buddy. Thank you.